Dear friends, my name is Jack. Today I want to share my story with you, a story of how pornography ruined my life. This is the first video on my channel dedicated to fighting porn addiction and other harmful habits. I hope my experience will help someone avoid this terrible trap. My encounter with pornography began at 14. It all seemed innocent. Accidentally discovered erotic movies on TV late at night. I had no idea what destructive power this content carried. The real nightmare began when I first saw pornography on a friend's computer. It was like a lightning strike. My heart was racing. I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. From that moment, my life went downhill. My eyesight began to deteriorate. I developed nearsightedness due to constant eye strain. I became withdrawn, avoiding interaction with peers. I spent all my free time at home, indulging in shameful fantasies and masturbation. Pornography was like poison eating away at my brain. I stopped developing, lost interest in studies and hobbies. My thinking became primitive. I couldn't focus on anything except obsessive sexual images. With each day, I sank deeper into this quagmire. I no longer controlled myself. As soon as I was alone, I immediately turned on porn. Feelings of guilt and shame were eating me up inside, but I couldn't stop. At 15, I began experimenting with my own body, trying to replicate what I saw in porn. I performed dangerous and humiliating acts that I now recall with horror and disgust. This could have ended in serious injuries. At 16, I discovered internet cafes. There I spent hours watching the most perverted pornography. I literally disappeared into these clubs, losing touch with reality. After such sessions, I would walk out completely broken, depressed, sad, with a deep feeling of emptiness inside. Life was bustling around me, like a bright kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. Young couples holding hands laughed and kissed on park benches. Groups of students animatedly discussed upcoming exams, making plans for the future. Beautiful girls in summer dresses walked by, their hair flowing in the wind. My classmates gathered after classes to go to a cafe or cinema together. I heard their cheerful voices and laughter, but couldn't join in, and I walked, eyes downcast, as if in an invisible cocoon. My heart ached with pain and shame. I felt like a ghost, unable to touch this bright, vibrant reality. My mind was clouded by obsessive thoughts and desires that I couldn't get rid of. Life was passing me by, and I remained a prisoner of my dark, closed world. Each step was a struggle, as if I was wading knee-deep in the thick, sticky quagmire of my addiction. How I wanted to break free, to become part of this beautiful world around me. But invisible chains held me tight, not allowing me to take even a step towards freedom. Dear viewers, I continue my confession. What I'm about to tell you may shock you, but I consider it my duty to warn about the terrible consequences of porn addiction. My limbic system, the part of the brain responsible for emotions and desires, was seriously damaged. I could last without porn for a few weeks, but then inevitably relapsed. I bought a VCR and started collecting pornographic tapes. I became completely unsociable. Girls sometimes showed interest in me, but I would panic and run away from any relationships. My world narrowed down to daily masturbation and watching porn. I was wasting my youth, energy, and potential. At 19, having earned my first money, I immediately bought a computer. An inner voice warned me of the danger, but I didn't listen. And within a week, I was fully immersed in the abyss of internet pornography. A year passed. I was already combining porn with alcohol, sitting for hours in a dark room in front of the monitor with a bottle of beer. And life was passing me by. Outside the window, a beautiful sunset was fading. In the yard, children's laughter rang out. Kids were playing in the sandbox, building sandcastles. People were hurrying about their business, some returning from work, some walking dogs. The noise of passing cars mixed with the singing of birds. The whole world was filled with life, light, and the joy of the approaching summer. And I sat in a stuffy room, shutting myself off from this beauty with thick curtains. At 20, I was a lonely, physically weak virgin with serious vision problems. I didn't get into university, couldn't find a decent job. My life had turned into an endless cycle of porn and alcohol, while the world around me was blooming and living life to the fullest. At 21, I went to a prostitute for the first time. Although I resisted it internally, pornography had distorted my perception so much that I couldn't resist. This experience left only a feeling of emptiness and self-disgust. Years went by, and I continued to degrade. I lived with my grandmother, depending on her, unable to find work. My eyesight continued to deteriorate. I turned into a complete failure with nothing to offer this world, but the worst was yet to come. Due to perverted practices inspired by pornography, I seriously damaged my organs. I started having incontinence problems. This became a real tragedy. I couldn't normally communicate with people or get a job. The constant fear that someone might smell the odor completely paralyzed my social life. I remember an incident on a train. A pretty girl showed interest in me, but as soon as she sensed the smell, I saw how contempt and disgust distorted her face. It was unbearably painful and humiliating. In addition to health problems, I developed severe depression, social phobia, and a complete inability to build relationships. I couldn't work, communicate, or develop as a person. Pornography had stolen my youth, health, career, and the opportunity to create a family. I tried to fight the addiction, even turned to religion, but I relapsed again and again, sinking deeper into the abyss of despair and self-destruction. One day I went to a sports ground to exercise. There I met an old lady with a dog, and an amazing incident occurred. I made a remark about her dog, and she, seeing me for the first time, suddenly called me a wanker. This deeply shocked and hurt me. Was my vice so obvious to others? This incident became a turning point for me. I began to seriously study the topic of abstinence and practice it, and the results were not long in coming. During this period, I achieved the greatest success in my life. I earned more money than ever before. I got a girlfriend, and life became filled with meaning and joy. Most importantly, I managed to go 166 days without pornography and masturbation. It was the longest and happiest time in my life. I felt full of energy, confident, capable of achieving any goal. Unfortunately, since then, I have not been able to surpass this record of 166 days. But this experience showed me how beautiful life can be without porn addiction. With the advent of the mobile phone, the situation got even worse. I didn't want to buy it because of the danger of viewing, but unfortunately, due to work, I was forced to acquire one. And so the habit returned much stronger. I started spending 10 to 12 hours a day watching porn and masturbating. This led to serious health problems. I felt severe pain, swelling, burning, and damage to the tissues of my penis. But even this couldn't stop me. At 25, I got a girlfriend, but I could no longer have normal sex. Despite leading a healthy lifestyle, not drinking or smoking, I began to develop erectile dysfunction. It was humiliating and painful. I went to a doctor, and the diagnosis was disappointing. Serious disturbances in the blood supply to the genitals due to excessive masturbation. My body was destroyed by pornography. Years went by and I continued to degrade. My eyesight worsened, relationships failed. I'm already 36, and I still haven't been able to start a family. Despite 2 degrees, I couldn't build a career. Constant failures haunted me in all areas of life. I tried to fight the addiction, even started practicing abstinence. During these periods, life improved. Girls appeared, I started earning well. But then I would relapse and return to porn. Over the years, I've watched all kinds of pornography. I immersed myself in its most perverted and disgusting forms. This destroyed my psyche and perception of normal relationships. Friends, I beg you, don't repeat my mistakes. The price you have to pay for the fleeting pleasure of watching porn is incredibly high. Take care of your physical and mental health, your youth and potential. Don't let pornography steal your life as it happened to me. Dear viewers, I continue my confession. What I'm about to tell you may shock you, but I consider it my duty to warn about the terrible consequences of porn addiction. I constantly called prostitutes, looking for those who would agree to my perverted fantasies. I spent huge amounts of money on these meetings, but they brought no satisfaction. Over time, I was drawn to occultism, Satanism, magic. I read perverted books related to pornography. Then came an interest in transgenderism, cross-dressing, feminization. I started dressing in women's clothes, experimenting with alcohol, intoxicating substances, conducting occult rituals. All this was combined with watching porn and various sexual perversions. In parallel, I tried to fight the addiction, went to church, but I was expelled twice for unworthy behavior. I completely lost heart. I'm over 36 now. I'm lonely, haven't had a relationship in years. I've achieved nothing in life, haven't earned money. My health is undermined, eyesight is ruined, erectile function is impaired. Pornography seriously affected my mental abilities. I became less intelligent, couldn't compete with other men. The best years of my life were lost in solitude and perversions. I'm still fighting addiction, but so far unsuccessfully. That's why I decided to create this channel, to tell my story. I hope my experience will help someone avoid this terrible trap. If even one person manages to avoid addiction or get rid of it thanks to my channel, then I'm not doing this in vain. As it is said in the scripture, what a man sows, he will also reap. Take care of yourselves. Until next time, I beg you, don't repeat my mistakes. Pornography is a terrible drug that cripples the psyche and destroys lives. Protect yourself and your loved ones from this plague of the 21st century.